Good evening, welcome everyone to ERL for round number 9 for the Qatarian Losail Grand Prix. Then probably that's incorrect, but oh well, it is Qatar. We are doing tonight for round 9, of course, of the championship season. And obviously back then once more for hopefully what should be another excellent round, hopefully. So far, obviously, Irontier always delivers, as per usual, but of course, well, Qatar isn't necessarily, I don't think, the best track when it comes to a racing venue. Um, when I say it's probably not the best track when it comes to a racing venue, it is technically a MotoGP track originally, weren't really built for Formula One. So, of course, you get this, I feel, awkward sort of racing here at Qatar, where, of course, you got one situation with, well, maybe not so much in the game, certainly more maybe in real life, where it's just a bit more boring. Even though you would ideally think it would be a decent circuit when it comes to racing because it's got, well, straights, but I think there's just too many fast and flowing corners. But obviously, ERL INT, I'm sure will, resolve that problem and make sure it's a good race. So last time out, it was Dandan who took the race victory, and his two main championship rivals of Charlie Harris and Appledorn both crashed out, and both unfortunately didn't pick up any points last week. So that means the championship gap between the top three has increased from a minimum of what was, I believe, last week 2 points, if I'm correct in saying. Was it 2 points last week? Yep, 2 points between the top two. It's now 28 points between the top two. So Dandan's taken a commanding lead now in this championship with only 4 races to go. However, obviously Appledorn also lost out points quite heavily. He's now trailing by 37. Then we have Tom in 4th on 84. And then finally Man's Not Bob in 5th on 93. So those are your drivers' top 5. In terms of the constructors, right now it is Alpine currently leading the way with 64-point advantage over Aston Martin, who are closely being trailed by Red Bull, who currently on 212. Then it's Haas on 207 and Ferrari in the top 5 on 190. But a very close fight between really 6th and 7th, or really actually 6th and 3rd, I should say. There's not a lot in it when we look at it. That could easily change with one good team result for any of those teams. And what's gone on there, that's not ideal, because LCC has just gone into the back of Man's Not Bob. I'm not entirely sure what has occurred or what I've just witnessed, but I've certainly witnessed something. Anyway, let's get up the what you call it, and I think we might be leaving this session because I'm not entirely sure. Let's see. Yeah, we are. So we're restarting. So that's a great start already here. Then not ideal, but could be worse. At least we're restarting early, and it looks like someone has left on fixed cockpit cam. So all the drivers, well, I've done that once, to be fair, in a different league, of course, left on the fixed cockpit cam. So that makes a bit more sense now. I did think what was happening. Anyway, so just wait for our re-invite back to the new session, and yeah, just be about a 5-minute or 10-minute delay then. So, have to wait and see then what obviously happens in qualifying still. Hopefully all the drivers get the message, because it looked like Morgan's still continuing on. So I'm just waiting on a re-invite to the new lobby. Once that's up and running, and once it is, then we can get into the new session and restart this, obviously qualifying from where we currently are. Even though Morgan's currently doing a lap at the moment, I think here. Does look like he's pushing on a little bit. So we're right on board with the Alpine driver, giving us a bit of a tour, I suppose. And now he's decided to retire. Fair enough. Not sure if he was pushing or whatever, but it is what it is. So as I said, we're just waiting on really a new lobby invite, and once we've got that, we can obviously join. So we are now shortly, very much shortly, ready to get back underway. Hopefully this time everything is correct. I'm just going to go through it, double check. It's all good. Good. So we are now back to the racing action here then, or soon to be at Qatar. Sorry about the long hold, or long delay obviously. Um, we now get back then to the Qatarian Grand Prix. So just remind you of the standings quickly so you know what they are going into this. So as I say, Dandan currently leads then the championship in Iron Tier, followed by then Charlie Harris, who's in second, 28 points adrift though. Then we've got Appledorm in third on 37, and then we've got Tom on, in fourth on 108. Then you have Manzanar Bob in fifth then. Then the constructors, as I said before, it is Alpine, Aston, Red Bull, Haas, and Ferrari as your current top 5 in the standings. So those are your championship standings, of course. And we now can get back underway. So that's already nice, seeing the graphic already up there for me. In terms of the lap thing, the track map. So as I said, not really the best track when it comes to racing, but it is a good track when it comes to qualifying. I think personally it's one of the probably more enjoyable ones, and already we've got a flurry of action in the pits with already then I think that is Ralphie or Mufasa going out first. Nope, it is Mufasa. So Mufasa first out onto the track. And you know what that means, Mufasa? You are being spectated, so don't crash. Unlike previous weeks or previous months. But no, on a serious note, he's actually pretty good in qualifying, Mufasa is. He's, done pretty well. He is on the mediums though here, so not on the softs. Therefore, ultimately, he will be at a disadvantage then here. Morgan, interestingly, going for the hards, not even attempting the soft tyre, going straight out onto the hard by the looks of it, he is. And that's a very interesting choice of tyre in qualifying, because obviously, ideally, most drivers tend to go for medium or softs. Very rarely do you see a driver on a set of the hards in any circuit around, especially in qualifying. So that's just my opinion. Anyway, so Mufasa on his way to begin his lap. I'm pretty sure he might be the first one around here, or might not, because he does have obviously Valsey, I think that, sorry, not Valsey, Nil. Was it Valsey? I'm not sure. One of the Alfa Romeos, I'm pretty sure that was. Anyway, here we go then, on a lap with Mufasa to begin qualifying then. And to begin the first flying lap of the evening. And down into turn 1. Hits the brakes ever so slightly. You don't want to be too hard on the brakes through turn 1. A lot of these corners, it's just about tapping the brakes. There's only really one heavy or two heavy braking zones actually on this lap. Maybe 3, tell a lie. So 3 heavy braking zones, and really the rest of it, you're just trying to tap the brakes ever so gently to nurture the car. Here's the first main heavy braking zone, you'd have to conclude. And then here comes the second one very shortly, as you can see, using lots of the brake there, but through third gear, and takes, well, within the track limits so far, very cleanly. No real issues so far on this lap. That was the third heavy braking zone, you'd have to conclude. And then it's pretty much flat out from here to the final corner. Obviously does go purple, 55.0. That's alright, that's not bad. Obviously is on a set of mediums, so you wouldn't expect anything below 55s at the moment. Maybe a 54 would be a bit better, but doing good here, Mufasa is. So what is the benchmark that they all go and chase then, as we see then Mufasa about to cross the line, who will be shortly followed by Charlie Harris. Here comes Charlie Harris, beats that time immediately, almost going 8 tenths clear, and that's a very good lap time on a set of mediums actually, a 22.2. That's a very good lap time, and bear in mind Mufasa has been away for a while, so it might be a bit rusty this evening compared to some of his previous results in qualifying in the earlier part of the season. Elliott now goes on to provisional pole, 21.8, so that's a very competitive lap time. Moves himself almost 4 tenths clear of the rest at the moment. So next up might be Morgan. 56.6 from middle sector, not ideal, not great, so quite a fair bit off. Runs very much out wide in the final sector, however, he has actually turned off his battery, so this certainly not going to be a competitive lap. Overall, 25.3, so quite a long way off the worst lap time at the moment. Is though on a set of the hards. Have to see what he can do, though, a little bit further. Actually, I'm going to stay on board, see if he is going for it again. Or what is his actual run plan here? Because, you know, this whole strategy confuses me a little bit. Because, well, usually you'd see medium, soft, soft. So you see 3 runs, really, for each of the following, 18 drivers we've got tonight. But yeah, usually you'd see 3 separate runs. He's invalidated his lap, so that doesn't help his cause either. Here's Ralphie, who's actually a little bit further down, so we'll follow Lange actually, because he's next on a lap. It'd be rude not to. And obviously, yeah, as I say, for obviously Morgan, that strategy is really confusing me quite a fair amount, because obviously, as I say, you'd usually run mediums, soft-softs, or soft-soft-softs. At least 3 different runs on that part, well, in this part of qualifying, in the 18-minute shot qualifying. You wouldn't usually run any other compound. So I do wonder what is he going to benefit out of that. Maybe build up a rhythm, which this circuit is quite heavily dependent on your rhythm. If you ain't got a good rhythm around this circuit, this is probably one of the worst places besides that and Monaco, where you need a good rhythm to feel connected to one with the car and the track. And if you haven't got that, then yeah, you're not going to be competitive. And Ralphie goes above his teammate. However, bear in mind that is on a softer set of compound of tyres. And Mufasa actually rejoining the racetrack now. So not much between the 2 Williams drivers here. Only a 3/10 advantage to Ralphie in P6. So not a great lap then for Ralphie, maybe. Or maybe it was a really good lap for Mufasa, who obviously did a 23.0 on those mediums. So it was one or the other. Not really sure which one to go with, but they'll know between the 2 of them. So Ship is a legend, is obviously on his first flying run of the night. He's obviously a bit out of sync, gone a bit later compared to the other drivers here then. Obviously he's gone on this, a bit later out of the pits, leaving it to about 11-12 minutes to go. So before he started his lap, and now with about 10 minutes on the clock. We'll get in probably 2 runs here, but obviously whether or not he does 3 runs, maybe not. He might be trying to save the set of softs for the race, who knows. But anyway, let's see what he does. So it's going to come towards the line now. Crosses line, goes into 9th behind Lucky Egg. So Lucky Egg currently then is ahead of him, and that is Lange having a spin at the final turn. But obviously pit lane's only a short drive back into the pits. Now Mufasa has begun his second flying lap, so let's see how he does. Obviously his first flying lap was okay, but well, it was actually more than okay. It was good. It was good, dare I say. But let's see how his second flying lap goes. Currently I think he might have made a mistake, because was he recharging the battery? It looked like he was. Let's see if he continues on with it. It looks like he's still continuing on, and has gone obviously a bit faster in the first sector compared to the his previous lap. However, you would expect that. Track has rubbered in probably a bit now, and obviously is on the softer compound of tyre. Now, let's see how his middle sector is. It was a 55, almost a second quicker already then. That's right up there then, right now, with the times that are P3 and P2, where this time could put him if he continues this margin of improvement. However, we know he has improved by a lot in previous times. You know, he does have this ability to just do that really. I think Mufasa find massive improvements from the different compound steps, and there we go. Pole position, provisional pole for Mufasa back on his debut, I suppose, or back, racing here in ERL. Then, so that's a really good lap by obviously Mufasa, by the Dutchman. However, obviously Dandan, your championship leader, is next, and I'll tell you what, he must have been delighted taking the championship lead last time out. Not probably the way he would want to do it with all the chaos necessarily, but you take it as it comes. Obviously, see, this is the thing, obviously, about this race weekend in Miami. I kind of like the fact Lando won. However, I feel like we were stolen of a bit of a better race, in my opinion, if you know what I mean, because I just think had the safety car not picked up the incorrect driver correctly, Max would have probably been leading, and maybe also Charles and Piastri would have been ahead of Norris. And you just got to think, what would the race been had it been that way around? Probably would have had a bit of a nice fight towards the end of the race. But as I say, you got to take it as your luck comes as well. And of course, Lando did take that, and Dandan had to do the same last time out in Las Vegas. And is Dandan going to go on to pole? No, misses out by quite a substantial margin. Right now, Charlie Harris is your pole sitter, who currently is very comfortable in first place with a 21.3. Then it's Elliot on a 21.8. Then it is Mufasa also on a 21.8. And then it is Manzanot Bob 21.2. 22.1. Then it is Dandan a 22.2. So those are your current lap times inside the top 5. So Valsey is about to begin his first flying lap. Obviously, still a few drivers haven't done a flying lap as of yet. And Valsey is one of those. So he has just begun his. And through turns 1 and 2 into then turn 3. Down towards 4. This car turned in very nicely. Through 5 and then into 6. Then a little bit of oversteer, not the cleanest of turn 6s for Valsey. Holds it in 4th gear, trying to use that maximum gear ratio into 7. 7, 8, 9, and then this is turn 10. 11, one big swooping left-hander, followed then by a triple right-hander of 12. Using a bit of brakes through there, probably not needed, but through 13, very much understeering out wide through 14 and 15, certainly having difficulty there. 16, then final corner, and certainly probably going to be nowhere near the pole lap time at the moment, but it is going to be a lap time on the board nonetheless. Let's see where he goes. And is he going to move himself off the back row? Yes, he is. 24.4. That's okay. Puts him ahead of Lange, puts him ahead of the likes of Morgan, who's now switched on to the softer tyre. He is about to. So, obviously, as I say, for Morgan, he is on hard. So I do expect a very substantial jump by the Alpine driver of Morgan. How much between the two between the two compounds? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe 1.5 seconds, I'm going to say, for Morgan, which probably puts him roughly where Ship is a Legend is at the moment, maybe a bit higher up than that. Anyway, Ship is a Legend, 6/10 improvement, so he's finding a nice chunk of time out there. This should see him improve fairly nicely, as Manzanot Bob has started his lap, I think, or finished actually a lap, sorry. Does go P2, so currently it is Aston Martin, Mercedes, Williams, then at your top 4. Appledorn currently 5th, and Dandan, your championship leader, only P6 at the moment. However, Ship is a Legend moves himself up nicely into the top 9 and into the 122s as well. Ralphie is next then, will follow. Let's see what the other Williams can do. Obviously, on his first run did beat his teammate. However, his teammate was at the disadvantage of running mediums, and also his teammate did go, well, was the first driver around on the track, so therefore would have had a green track. And we see Ralphie back into the pits, deciding to abort that lap and didn't feel he was improving. He was down, I think, by 29,000, so fair enough. Wouldn't have been a massive improvement, but that's more like it from your championship leader, who goes up into P2, then here, and that's P2 for then him, but still a seismic margin behind Charlie Harris, who currently occupying that pole position. Charlie Harris really put in a stonking lap to go into P1. 3 minutes obviously on the clock remaining, so obviously we are going to get in some final laps very, very shortly. And here is one of them then. FC Ashton Shade, who currently had one of his better results last time out. Doing a good job here. P currently 7, of course. And P7 would be a nice starting position, but let's see if he can improve by even more. Hopefully he can maybe either, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Solidify, I think the correct word. You know, basically secure that P7. If not, maybe try and go for P6. What's his first sector looking like? It's looking good. Up by about a tenth then of a second for FCS and Shade, who has improved then first sector quite nicely through then the middle sector into then what is a pretty tricky complex of corners. And let's see how that middle sector's looking. Currently, he got a 10th on his first sector time, so that would see him at least onto 22.3. Still improving by about a 10th, I believe, so not sure. Does he keep it within track limits? Ever so slightly just. Did look like very, very close to being outside of them. So round the final corner for the Ferrari. Can he get himself ahead of Appledorn or closer? At least if he's closer, it solidifies or, you know, tries, well, certainly improves his chances of holding on to P7. Does improve, but not by maybe the margin he would have liked. Now, let's see if Lucky Egg is improving. Right now, he is not improving enough to go quicker. It was about a 10th down. So, this might be okay for FCS and Shade in terms of holding on to P then 7 for now. Round the final corner for Lucky Egg towards the line. DRS wide open on the Red Bull car. And does he improve? Does improve, but only by 21 thousandths. Nowhere near enough to be obviously going any quicker, or, you know, not enough to move himself up the order. So here's then Elliott. Bit of a wobble, but he's still pushing that car, I'm sure, right the way to the line, and going to cross the line now. Can he go quicker? He doesn't improve and misses out, so that's not any sort of improvement. So who is next? Where's Charlie Harris? Want to make sure we're following them all in the correct order. Appledorn is 5 tenths up, so I think next one we need to follow is probably Mafasa, who is ahead of Appledorn, if I'm correct. So that's your top drivers. Charlie Harris is one of the latter drivers to cross the line, so we won't have to follow him, but that's invalidation for then himself, and that is then his lap basically over. So Appledorn, he's improving by about half a second the last time I checked in on him. Is he improving by any more? Currently about 7-8 tenths behind that pole. He's improving by about 5 thousandths now, so that isn't that much, but is he still got about 5 tenths from the Sector 1? If he does, that is still a fairly nice lap if he's putting together, so maybe up by about 6 tenths. We'll have to see what he has when he comes and goes across the line. Charlie Harris extends his pole position advantage, but here comes then Appledorn towards the line. What can he do? Goes up into P4, does improve. Here is, obviously, Dan. Here's, though, Man's Not Bob, off into the barriers, so that's him then out of qualifying. What can Dan do? I'm not sure he's going to improve. Manzanar Bob has been disqualified. That is absolutely not a great end to his qualifying, so that means he will begin the race from the back of the grid. Does Dandan get pole? No, misses out by 0.3 of a second. But is Charlie Harris then taking pole position for then the Qatar Grand Prix? And that's a very lovely effort by him to take pole, but a good effort by also Dandan. And your top three are the top three in the championship, just in a bit of a mixed order. So Charlie Harris, Dandan, then it's Appledorm on pole. And that is a fantastic result from them. But yeah, real disappointment at the end there for obviously Manzanar Bob. Disqualification in qualifying, and that will see him begin this race from the far end of the grid. So Charlie Harris takes pole once again. He took pole, I think, was it? Oh no, he didn't take pole. He took front row in Jeddah. But nonetheless, good result in Jeddah. Dandan P2 by 0.2 behind. Then it's Appledorm in third, 0.6 adrift. Would have been fourth, however. Bear that in mind. White Elliott is in fourth. Then it is Mufasa in fifth. FCS and Shade will take sixth. And then Lucky Egg in seventh. Ship is a Legend is eighth. Then Tom is ninth. Then Ralphie in 10th. Outside the top 10, we have Morgan LCC, then it's Lange, and then it's Valsey. With no set time, though, we have Neil, Haz Nagel, then we have Ehrman, and Manzanar Bob Julie disqualifying himself at the end of that session. So that is your starting grid for today's Grand Prix. And now we will get into the main event, which will be, I think it's about a 27 lap or 28 lap race around here. However, usually this circuit is probably a one stop. So, here we go then. It is lights out and away we go for then the Qatarian Grand Prix. It's a good start by Appledorm, not a great start by Dandan, who's been jumped off the line. But as we go through turn 1 and 2, it looks like everyone is making it safely through the first couple of corners. And that is then a clean start by the majority of the pack then here. It's Dandan, though, who's been put under pressure, who's starting on the hards, going for the harder compound, not for the mediumer compound, which I think majority of the field has gone for then here. And that probably explains why Dandan is struggling in these early few corners, and maybe even in these early few laps, because he is obviously going to be a bit slower than the medium runners, at least for now. So, but he will have probably a bit of a pace advantage come towards the back end of this race. There is your predicted race strategies. Obviously a one-stop, medium softs or hard mediums then. And we've got a yellow flag out in sector 1, and it's a safety car already. So safety car's been deployed, and that's the first safety car of the evening. Lange is out of the race. So there we go then. And the drivers will be collected by the safety car. Charlie Harris will meet Bert Marlander, who will then obviously pick them all back up. And, well, early safety car doesn't really, I don't think, benefit anyone here, if I'm being honest. No one's really, benefited from lap 1 safety car. Never do. Maybe unless you got a bit of wing damage, then you might be a beneficiary. Other than that, that's about it, really. So the Aston Martin leads the Aston Martin. And currently, two of the championship protagonists in first and second as your top two. Appledorn currently trailing, then Charlie Harris as they all kind of concertining here a little bit upon one another. Obviously, good evening, Dave. Welcome to the channel again. Obviously, you're a regular member of the channel and the chat. But yeah. So apparently, in that, I think you're talking about final run there, invalidated a 3.10 advantage, or improvement, I should say. So that would have been quite nice had you got that lap in, that final lap. Probably would have seen you, what, maybe 4? P5 from the grid? No, sorry, P4, P3 on the grid, maybe? You were on a 21.8, if I'm correct. So 21.8 probably put you P3, I think, if I'm correctly mistaken. Because Appledorn had a, no, it wasn't Appledorn, Dandan had a 21.4, so 21.5, yeah, it's only put you about P3, so that would have been really lovely qualifying from you. Obviously, you are on the softs, so therefore that should be a nice car to be on. However, this safety car, actually, saying it doesn't help anyone out, this safety car, it does help people out. It helps the soft runners out, because the soft runners, through being on this safety car, can extend their stint potentially here. Maybe by a lap or two, not by much, but maybe a lap or two they can extend by. So safety car should be in at the end of this lap, which it is. There we go then. So perfect timing for me to get back to comms. And now we can go back racing once again. And it is Charlie Harris who will obviously restart the grid, or restart the field. How, well, obviously we should get in more than what we got at Las Vegas, I reckon. Shouldn't be as dramatic as Las Vegas, I don't think, because to find a barrier here, you've got to do something really, really dumb, or, well, not dumb, but really, really, wild and crazy. And here we go then. Charlie Harris has got them back underway, and we are now back to racing. It's a relatively good start, but it's a very long straight here, which is going to be something for Appledorn to capitalise on. Can he then try and chase down the Aston Martin man? By the looks of it, the answer to that is no. The Aston Martin have an excellent great line speed, but it is right now Elliott who's looking very much like he's on the charge then here in the Iron Tier. because he, right now, is only 3/10 behind the Red Bull. And the Red Bull is right now, well, losing ground to the Aston Martin. So therefore, as he loses ground, this helps actually Elliott to just benefit off the toe ever so slightly more. And that is obviously something good for, obviously, himself. Man's not move. Man's not Bob is making a move around the outside of LCC, gets the job done, and that's him now up into the top 13, or into the 13th position. As we see also Lucky Egg on the back of the Haas driver of Ship is a Legend. He right now is trying to get that move done, goes a little bit wide, so that's going to be a track limit warning, at least for himself there probably, as he, certainly didn't keep it within the track boundaries. And that's going to be the other thing to look out for here today. Not only is it going to be, if you can get the move done, but it's going to be also about track limits. And now we see Lucky Egg pull back into the clutches of then the other Haas of Tom, as we see a triple move going on back there. Ehrman overtaking both his teammate and Haas Nagel for 14th and 15th. Gets the move done, Ehrman does. Very nice by him. So that's now him up inside the top then 14 or 15. As these two still battle away. Hasnagel and Nagel on the back of then LCC. Has had an excellent result last time out. Podium it was, if I rightly remember. Brilliant result for the AlphaTauri man. And you know what, he really deserved it last week. Showed excellent pace, brilliant maturity to do what he did. Obviously, I have no idea how long he's been league racing for, if I'm being honest with you or truthful, but obviously showed excellent pace, excellent maturity to do what he did last week, and, fully deserved the podium on merit. And yeah, right now fighting with LCC, the McLaren, for 15th. Okay, probably a downgrade compared to last week, but it looks like they're having a nice clean battle between them two at the moment for what is 15th. As we see Man's Not Bob about to make another move. Straight though, on the straight it is, and into turn 1, ahead of Morgan, as we see Ralphie and Neil side by side. Neil with the inside line for the next corner for turn 3. Turn 2, then turn 3, still got the inside line though for turn 3. And still got the inside line for turn 4 as well. So it should Neil be the one to prevail, and it is. So holds on, or gets P10 then from Ralphie. Ralphie then down to 11th. However, he himself is one of 3 cars on the current hard compound tyre. We do have a bit of a mixed strategy in terms of that regard. A few drivers gone soft, obviously Neil and Mafasa, and a few drivers also gone for the medium, well, majority going for medium, and we've got about 3 cars on the harder compound, so them drivers looking to go long. Do have a spinner of LCC at the back there, but no virtual, no safety car, and we will, well, survive at least another lap without a safety car, as we see once again Lucky Egg going wide. Must be getting close to those track limits warnings and that track limit penalty being imposed upon the Red Bull driver here. How much longer? But we see then also a few other cars going wide. I think that was Tom then who's gone wide. Can he hang on against Neil? Neil's got the DRS, but also so does Tom then, and that aids him out in defending then that P8 P9 position. Then right now both Hasses running inside the top 10. Obviously points are scored though for all positions here. That should be stressed vitally, but nonetheless, obviously for Tom, he right now is well on a good charge at the moment, or holding bit of a train up, bit of a train this is, the Haas train at the moment. Lucky Egg though is sort of kind of involved as well, maybe you should call it the Red Bull / Haas train. Right, let's get the gap to the leaders. So that's the gap to the leaders. Right now, Manzanar Bob 10.7 seconds behind. That's not bad though, considering he started right at the back end of this field. Obviously, you would also like to say the hards should start becoming a better tyre now and start becoming the tyre of choice. Which they just might, because seeing Dan ever so slightly getting closer and closer to the back of Elliott. So I think he might reclaim P3 here. Let's see. He's got the DRS, got the ERS as well to burn here, but with that DRS, with that ERS, used it to good effect down the straight. Elliott doesn't really defend, went to the inside, but also weren't really going to be able to defend that, and that is Dan now up into the top 3, and now 3.5 seconds adrift of your race leader. So this race starting to come back towards Elliott, of course. Not towards Elliott, towards Dan, of course, with those harder compound tyres. As I said, they are probably starting to come into their own groove now. So starting to become that tyre of choice that you'd probably want to be on at this stage in the race. And the medium runners still have quite the work to do in terms of where probably the pit stop window is. Probably another, 2 or 3 laps before we might see someone in. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Manzanar Bob last season. Or one of the seasons. I think it was one of them. Went for that really odd strategy. Might have been actually Mufasa. Went for that strategy. Pitted, I think, lap 11. If I rightly remember. Whether that was ERL, it might have been a few seasons ago actually. It might not have been last season, it might have been a few seasons ago. But it was a really, really odd strategy I thought at the time. But it did work for him. It actually did work. And I do wonder whether we see that strategy deployed today by anyone. Let's call it, I don't know whether to call it the Mufasa or the Bob special, but it is the ERL special. I'm pretty sure it happened here in ERL, unless I'm remembering a completely different league. But yeah, I think I am remembering correctly. Quite a few races ago that, obviously, on this game. It was a good race actually, to be fair. This race has actually been so far so good. Out of 10, I'd probably give it a solid 8. So, lads, to get up to a 9, you guys need to just put on a bit more show. But no, actually, I'll give it a 9 so far. A 9 out of 10. Maybe an 8's a bit too critical. Right now I'm thinking maybe we could have, I don't know, some sort of funny moments. But yeah, it's been a good race so far. But Manzanar Bob a bit stuck here behind Ship is a Legend at the moment. Kind of compromising his race, it is. So it's vital Manzanar Bob finds a way past the Haas. And is he going to be able to get that move done here? No, not quite. Having to wait a little bit longer. Going to have to wait a lot longer because right now, Ship is a Legend. Still ahead of the Mercedes. So this is going to be a good opportunity, potentially, but both will have DRS. However, it is Manzanar Bob with the better battery. And there we go, Manzanar Bob to the inside. Here also goes Airman. He's trying to take the two of them. He's got the outside line. Can he get the move done? He's got the inside line for the next corner. That would be a fantastic move if he can get the move done. Not quite, but a very nice effort by Airman to try and take 2 for the price of 1. Almost thought he was going to get it done there. Not quite though by the McLaren. But yeah, does move himself up into 11th. Both of them have now cleared then this bundle of cars of Ralphie and Ship is a Legend. So their next target will be Neil. Currently is in 9th. So we might not be that far away from the pit stop phase. I don't think we are. So I reckon within the next 1 or 2 laps, we are going to see someone dart off into the pits. Who, though, will that be? However, the undercut is powerful actually around here. It is a very powerful tool. So if you're stopping 1 lap later than your rival, you've probably had it, really, if you know what I mean. You've probably been caught off guard. So it's a very important, tool to deploy that a driver can deploy around this circuit. It's just one of them tools, I suppose. However, the leader's pace right now is looking strong still. In fact, Mafasa's pace is looking strong, as well. That has to be said. He's currently in 5th, keeping up very nicely with Elliott, who should, in theory, have very much the better tyres at this stage in the race. Mafasa has no rights whatsoever to be on the gearbox of the Mercedes driver. I do wonder, does he have a bit of damage, potentially? I don't see any damage, so I'm going to have to say no. However, yeah, I do wonder, why is Elliott struggling so much in this race on this compound of mediums, and Mafasa is doing such an excellent job? Because he is doing just that, really running in a strong position right now. Almighty fine. Bit wide there for Mafasa. Might have been a track limit warning for him. Again, almost looking like very much on the edge, dicing with the penalty gods at the moment, Mafasa is. But down the straight, can Mafasa get him? Mafasa is gaining. He's gaining it quite nicely. Are we going to see a move? Yes, we are going to see a move. There we go, Mafasa into turn 1. Has he got the grip to go get this move done? The answer to that, no. Elliott just manages to cling on to 4th place, but that was really, really close down the straight. And Mafasa then, right now, P5, still P5 obviously, but is obviously also right now doing an excellent job on those 11 lap hold softs. Obviously they have had probably a little bit less laps in terms of racing. He probably could squeak maybe another lap or 2 out of these if he wants to, because we have had that safety car, which has probably helped. Might actually explain a few things. This lap's fallen a little bit away from Elliott, which Elliott will be liking to see. However, I have to wait and see. Both of them very much close on the track. Interesting thing here, Appledorm is keeping within the distance of then Charlie Harris. The other thing I think we should take note is Dan is currently not really making any sort of impact into the leader's advantage, and Mafasa is in. There we go. I did say, was it the Mafasa strategy of last season got him an excellent result, and I think it was, and I think this confirms it. This is the strategy we saw Mafasa deploy last season, or the season before that. And yeah, excellent result it delivered him. But will it do it here again today in ERL? Can he take an excellent result at Qatar once more? Now, gaps have obviously opened up. Now, the thing is, with that, obviously, Mafasa coming in, I do wonder, do we see an immediate reaction from Elliott, or does he stay out? He's going to stay out, but that will mean he's going to be feeling the effects of the undercut. Right now, I think Charlie Harris and the rest should be fine. As we see, then I believe that was Lucky Egg overtaking FCS and Shade. Right now we do have this group on the track of Lucky Egg and FCS and Shade being chased down by both Man's Not Bob and Airman, who both been sort of trading positions a little bit. Maybe playing a bit of that bicycle game, I suppose, if you know what I mean. Relaying sort of one another. And that actually does work at a circuit, I think, like this, where you can relay off each other. But so long you do it cleanly and you know what the other is exactly doing, as Man's Not Bob gets a bit of a slide. They do it a lot in bicycle racing, actually, mainly, where, you know, basically, and also they do it also at Indy 500 as well. That's another race where you see that relaying sort of going on, where, you know, the driver in front will give up the position just to get a bit of a tow and save fuel, and then also the driver then behind will do the exact same effectively a little bit later on. But now we've got to the back of these two. Does look like Man's Not Bob is looking to pressurise, then FCS and Shade into a bit of error, and in fact them two coming into the pits then here. So FCS and Shade and Man's Not Bob both come in at exactly identical times. Also Elliot is now in for a set of hards. Now let's see what the damage is to Elliot, because he's about to obviously rejoin this race. He's coming then down the pit straight is Mufasa. Here is also Elliot on the pit exit. And you know what, that's not bad. If I was Elliot, I wouldn't be too disappointed in seeing Mufasa go past there. Because, well, it's only 3 seconds really gained, which, okay, is a lot more than what it was. But I wouldn't be too disheartened, given the fact Elliot does have the harder compound for the rest of this race, so comfortably will make it towards the end. Whereas obviously Mufasa might struggle a little bit more. That battle for 5th is going to be a battle to watch. Now, when do the leaders come in? Leaders keep going around and around. These leaders, I think, must be edging now towards the softer compound. And interestingly, Dandan is deciding to give up his hards for them, probably what will be the mediums, I suspect here. I think it's probably a bit too soon to go on to a set of then softs. Let's see what he does. Yep, he's going to go for mediums. So Elliot's picked up a 3-second penalty, and that could be a very costly penalty indeed, especially when he's already trailing by about 3 seconds at the moment as it currently stands. In fact, 4 seconds you'd have to say. So here then is then the, Mufasa down the pit straight, takes also Haas Nagel, who took the podium last time out, took a top 3 result. Dandan though comes out behind then Mufasa. Mufasa doing an excellent job, and actually he's probably getting within territory where he could be a bit of a threat to the race leaders. Probably still needs to find about, I don't know, another 2, 3, 4 seconds in order to be that threat. But, you know, it's not far. It really is not that much, actually, right now. So, Dandan should probably take Mufasa with relative ease, I reckon. However, you never know. Obviously, the undercut has worked for Mufasa quite nicely. He's now up into what will become P3 once the remaining cars out front have stopped. Once again, though, the leaders continuing on their way. You would have to conclude, though, at this stage of the race, all those drivers continuing to stay out are pushing their stints towards the softer compound, towards the softs. So this is important. Can Morgan delay Mufasa? Bit of a hiccup there. Beg my pardon. But yeah, can Morgan delay Mufasa? The answer is no. So Morgan obviously, well, didn't delay Mufasa. Now, obviously, next car for Mufasa is about 5 seconds up the road. So for him, a bit of clean air for once. Can just get his foot down. Don't have to worry about the cars obviously behind him. As we see then Morgan out the way for then Dandan moves over very nicely, and that's a very gentleman thing to do, knowing that he isn't on the same strategy, isn't in the same race, and Charlie Harris is in, but Mufasa stays out. So there we go then. So Charlie Harris obviously has decided to pit. Now, does Charlie Harris go for the softs? That's the important question. I think he will. Now, what does Appledorm do here? Because Appledorm obviously has stayed out, and we know Charlie Harris is going to probably undercut then. Is Mufasa going to get out ahead of Charlie? I don't think so. Ralphie, though, is ahead. So that's not necessarily ideal for Charlie in actual all respects to Charlie. To be behind a Williams or Ralphie might get a bit delayed here, so he's got to get this move done pretty urgently. Probably try and take out the first given opportunity. He's going to try and do that. He is going to go do that. Down the inside. Ralphie, though, on the outside, tried to stick with it, but couldn't in the end. So Ralphie down to 5th, but Charlie is now ahead. But does Appledorm react straight away? The answer is yes, he does, and in he comes then. So it is going to be probably a bit close on the exit, but I think Charlie Harris should be comfortably ahead. It is, though, going to be very much, maybe, I don't know, about probably the same gap that we saw before. So Ehrman is now in, so same with Lucky Egg. So here's Charlie Harrison, who is going to obviously come down the pit straight. Should be ahead of Appledorm. There is Appledorm. So it's a bit more than a second or two. About, I'd say 2 seconds. Is it? 3 seconds. Actually, Charlie Harris has had an absolute stonker then of outlap. And, in fact, Dan, who's now past Mufasa, is right on the gearbox of Appledorm. So this is a very key moment in the race for Appledorm, just to hold off the attack from, obviously, Dan here for this lap. If he does it this lap, he probably should have the ability to keep then, obviously, Dan behind, and I think he's probably safe now. He's starting to bridge out that advantage, as we see. So, where is the next battle? We do currently a battle for what is 14th and 15th. We'll go through penalties, as I think this is an ideal time to go through those penalties now. As we see Charlie Harris take the fastest lap. So, penalties. Elliott, 3 seconds. Manzanorp Bob, 3 seconds. Lucky Egg, 3 seconds. Then we got Morgan, 3. Hasnagel, 3. Then we got Vauncy on 9 and LCC on 6 seconds worth of penalties. For the bottom 2, won't really matter at the moment with their penalties, as they are the bottom 2, and quite honestly, neither of them are close to the other, so penalties won't really matter there too much. However, for the likes of Elliott, who's trying to chase down Mufasa, or for the likes of, I don't know, Manzanorp Bob, it probably could have a lasting effect where we see them drivers not get the position they want to get. Now, I do wonder what the fuel is saying. Right now, Appledorm's looking better on the fuel. Charlie Harris looks like he might be struggling here a bit on the fuel. Now, that could be a concern, actually, if that is the case. If he's low on fuel and isn't really saving, then could we see a last lap or a last half lap where Charlie Harris loses out this Grand Prix because of that? Is there anyone else in that similar predicament? So we've got Lucky Egg, maybe. He might be also in a bit of trouble come the end of this race. And also we've got bouncy, but again, not really going to matter too much, I don't think. But yeah, that extra lap of fuel, maybe Appledore might just have, could be the secret to this end race result of a victory here. How low is his fuel? That's what I want to see. If we can see it here. So I think he's got, I'm not entirely sure. I wish I could tell you how much fuel he's got on the car, just so we knew, because it would just make my life a little bit easier as a commentator. As we do have a yellow flag out in sector 2, but it's only momentarily, no lasting yellows, so therefore that won't make much of a difference. And Mufasa is now starting to get caught by Elliott, who right now is now within about 1.5 seconds of the Williams driver. So this battle's starting to once again close up then here. Obviously, Mufasa's tyres are probably at a bit of a worn stage, but he should get them to the end. We saw obviously the leaders do about 17, 18 laps on them. So certainly got obviously the tyre to get to the end, but that's another 3 seconds for Elliott, so that really probably relieves some of the pressure for Mufasa here then in this race. He'll probably be thanking the heavens to see that pop up, and another 3 seconds, which obviously means he's now got 6 seconds of penalties, and that probably puts Elliott more in chance of being in risk of, well, Neil getting him at the end of this race, instead of then obviously Elliott. So yeah, for Elliott, that isn't ideal, far from ideal. So we are now starting to enter the closing phase of this race. So, lap 23, and Charlie Harris has actually left the session. Okay, we can't have that happening. Right, let's try and invite Charlie Harris as quickly as back possible to the game. As possible. Where are you, Charlie? Because I don't want him to lose out. He probably is going to, unfortunately, lose out there. Got too many friends. Let's see where he is. I'm going to just search him up quickly. Let's try and pop him an invite. Oh, right, it won't even let me. Hopefully he can just rejoin. Right, I'm going to try and find... Have I even got him in my friends list? If I do, I know I probably shouldn't be inviting people mid-race, but trying to just get Charlie Harris back in so he can try and finish off this race strongly. Doesn't even come into my invites. So, unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to re-invite him. Otherwise I would. Ah, right, okay, that makes sense then. So, by the looks of it, the internet has just gone. So that is such a shame for Charlie Harris, who has lost out once again a haul of points, and Mufasa, well, has a great opportunity, I suppose, to claim podium. So here is Elliot going for the move down the inside, as obviously Mufasa got the grip to hold on. No, but obviously he doesn't really need to fight it either. So long he can stick with him during these closing 5 laps it is here, he should take the podium spot from obviously Elliot then. And yep, such a shame for obviously Charlie Harris, because he could have finished in the race victory potentially. He was low on fuel though, which I think obviously you would have to say, but that's definitely not the way you want to see it. And trouble is, he's already, well, 28 points behind Dan Dan. Today will be even further adrift after today. Far from the ideal scenario. However, for Appledorn, for Appledorn, for Dan Dan, it's whether or not they can hold on and not lose fuel. So right now we do have a battle going on here for right now 8th and 9th. Lucky Egg going for a move, going to go down the inside. Does have the fresher tyre, the fresher soft compound, but Neil hangs on around the outside. Neil comes back at him on the inside. Then Appledorn still, sorry, not Appledorn, Lucky Egg still there. And in the end, Lucky Egg doesn't get the position and has to sit behind for another lap. Now, the problem, as I was saying earlier, there's only really 1 or 2 real overtaking spots. Obviously, you would have to consider maybe this turn overtaking spot if you're close enough, of course. But the other overtaking spot is literally down that main straight. The rest of it, very much not really a place where you can go and make moves. So very, very difficult circuit for overtaking here it is at, obviously, Qatar. Not the best when it comes to trying to pull off the moves. So, Neil, oh, that's a bit of an incident. And yeah, I think Lucky Egg slowing down to try and give back position. Not entirely sure. No, is he or isn't he? I'm not entirely sure. Certainly slowing down, but I don't think he's, you know, in the end able to give up that position, or not going to. Either way, like Neil's race, obviously having to pit, then for a new front wing. But yeah, that's certainly probably going to be a penalty coming Lucky Egg's way. Just looked like he just rear-ended him, unfortunately. And just, well, tried to use his car as a bit of a bump draft. Obviously, that's not allowed. Obviously, it is a non-contact sport, Formula 1. Kevin Magnussen didn't understand that on Saturday, nor did he understand that on Sunday either. You know, he decided to make up his own rules, Kevin Magnussen did. Obviously, we haven't seen anything like that today, which, thank goodness, actually. Personally, I was actually quite annoyed at Kevin this week. I think Kevin Magnussen probably, I don't want to say should be fired, but I do think Kevin Magnussen is running out of time in Formula 1. And his career coming towards the end of it, of course. But anyway, I'll tell you whose career isn't coming towards the end of his is Mufasa, who is about, after, I think, what is it, 3 weeks of racing, is about to claim a podium finish. And you know what? As much stick as I give Dave, or as I give Mufasa, whatever he wishes to be called, I think, you know, he really deserves hats off a random of applause today because he's been almighty once again around this Qatar circuit. And I don't know what it is about Qatar, but it just suits him. It really, really suits him. He had a great qualifying at Bahrain. He had a good also pace in other circuits. Could have had some excellent results this season. But I tell you what, if he hangs on for another lap then here, and I don't want to jinx it because we do not have any idea how close Mafasa is to a 3-second time penalty. I think even he is driving very much differently given the podium is on the cards in this race. You can see how he's just taken it cautiously where, you know, obviously Elliott is pushing on, but nonetheless it is going to be a podium finish for, obviously, Mafasa. And he's got, I think, the DRS for one final time, does he? Let's see, does he open up that rear end wing? No, he doesn't. He doesn't open up the rear end letterbox, as you sometimes call it, otherwise known as the DRS. But it is going to be then Appledorn from Dandan to take the race win. And obviously, Appledorn, really good drive overall. Obviously, it's a shame about Charlie Harris and his internet going, unfortunately, down. But it is going to be the race victory for Appledorn to bounce back a little bit. Dandan will be delighted with P2, I'm sure. But couldn't, obviously, catch Appledorn in the end. Whatever it is, the strategy for Dandan really didn't work today. Those hards to mediums just really didn't. But the softs to, or medium to softs did. And that really probably is the way to go around this circuit of Qatar in future for all the drivers. Obviously, we don't know what it'll be like on the next game, whether or not you'll be able to do the same strategic, genius. However, it has worked once again, that strategy. And I'm going to dub it the Mafasa strategy, because that's what it really should be called. And Appledorn is going to win in Qatar to bounce back from Las Vegas. It is a race win for Appledorn, followed by Dandan in P2. Then it's going to be Elliott who's going to cross the line in P3. But it's going to be Mafasa who will take the final podium position. And he's going to take it on his first race back here in ERL. Absolutely fantastic stuff. That's the stuff I love to see. Elliott, though, is going to finish in 4th. Charlie Harris comes across the line in eventually 5th. Eamon is in 6th. Then it is Mansnot Bob 7th. Ralphie 8th. Tom in 9th. Lucky Egg in 10th. Then we've got a battle for the top 10 by the looks of it. And it is going to actually be Ship is a Legend 10th. Lucky Egg misses out on points. So Ship is a Legend takes 10th, Lucky Egg in 11th, Has Nagel is in 12th, then 13th is going to be Morgan, 14th, FCS and Shade crossed to the line already. Neil completes then the line, I think, or is it Vancey? Vancey's still to cross the line. I don't understand why FCS and Shade has crossed the line already. How did he do that? I didn't see him cross the line, okay. Don't even see, there's his car, but yeah, nonetheless. Vancey, though, round in final corner now to cross the line, and that has been your Qatarian Grand Prix. So hopefully the podium celebration loads up, because I usually like doing that. There we go then. So Appledorn takes the top step of the podium, followed by Dandam then on his left, and then it is Appledorn, not Appledorn, sorry, it is Mafasa. I've messed up the podium. there already. It is Mufasa on the podium, and that is a fantastic podium, I think, personally. Shame about Charlie Harris, because he would have certainly been most likely up there as well, but you can't fault the top three then either, and great top three. Adrian Newey celebrating with his Red Bull team. Obviously, someone should pull Adrian Newey off that podium, because obviously he no longer works for Red Bull, does he? So that's a bit incorrect. Hopefully he's not in the next game. They need to sort of fix that for the next game. Take him out, if you know what I mean. But anyway, 15 seconds. I don't think we're going to go through the race result. I don't think, unfortunately. Looks like it's not going to load up on time. But nonetheless, I hope you've enjoyed then ERL tonight. Iron Tier, obviously. Hope it's been a cracker. And there we go. Couldn't go through the final race result, but we know obviously the top three was obviously Appledorn, Dan, and obviously Mufasa getting an amazing podium there. But as I say, I hope you enjoyed tonight's race, and I'll see you on Wednesday, hopefully, for obviously Tier 2 and for another race around Qatar. See you all then.